everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to discuss about a company called Sundial Growers. And if you look at this particular stock only recently, last year, around 2020, August, somewhere around there, it's listed on an exchange. And since then, this particular stock is not doing very well, but somewhat recently it is trying to make up moves. So according to our analysis, we found out that this particular stock can actually grow all the way up to level price USD $3. And you might be asking, how is that possible? So if you have that kind of question in mind, please stay tuned and watch this video. And some of you may, when you look at this particular chart, you notice that this is doing a rounding bottom pattern. So do you see that this is doing a rounding bottom pattern? So I'm moving my mouse. You can see that my mouse is somewhat following a pattern of rounding bottom. Or some of you may think that this is not really a rounding bottom, but it might be just if you draw kind of patterns here, you may see that, oh no, it's only making sideways moves, and it might be fluctuating between these two lines. So what do you think in your opinion? So if you're interested to find out details about this particular stock analysis, Sundial Growers, please stay tuned. I'm gonna explain in very detail. This is Shah&Co. Please like, share and subscribe the channel before we continue our explanation. See you then. Okay, so now let's begin our analysis. I'm going to divide this analysis into three parts. During the first part, I'm going to discuss about the USD $3 target and how is it possible, how I derived to that particular target. So we're going to look into the long-term analysis to derive that particular $3 target. So I'm going to talk about that. In the second part, I'm going to talk about this rounding bottom. Is it really a rounding bottom, or you might be thinking that it might be a sideways move? So that's what basically we're going to analyze. And in the last part, I'm going to discuss about when potentially we can enter and buy this particular stock. Again, buy and sell is your own decision. It's your own risk, but this is just a guidance. Okay. Now let's talk about the first part, the USD 3 target. So how do I derive to that? So for that, I'm now in the weekly chart. You can see here, it is now, if you look at my pointer, it's pointing to a weekly chart. So this particular weekly chart, you can see that its price wasn't doing very well at the very beginning, but it somewhat reached the bottom. So we can see it reached the bottom somewhere here, and then it's now starting to climb. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in a bit on the recent price. We can see that the price, I'm going to take a ruler and measure from the bottom of the chart. So this is somewhat the bottom of the chart, and to the high point, the recent high point is somewhere here. So why I'm doing this measurement is because I'm going to see how many periods did it take to make this up move. So according to this particular ruler or measurement, it says that it took like 15 bars, or roughly it took like 105 days to make an up move. So there are about 15 bars here. The next we're going to look at the other side when the price was moving downward. Okay, from that high all the way when the price touched the bottom here. So the bottom is somewhere here. How many bars did it took? It took 13 bars. Earlier it was 15 bars. Now it's 13 bars, or roughly 91 days. Okay, so this is a time domain analysis to see who is having a higher sentiment, the buyer or the sellers. So because that is important for us to do our price targeting. How do we come to that price $3 target? So now I already know that the up move was around 15 bars, and the down move was around 13 bars. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these Fibonacci trend based retracement. So I'm going to take the first low, okay, that's the first low, all the way to the high, then go all the way to the bottom here. So this is the bottom. Okay, so then I'm just going to extend it to the on the right hand side so that it's easier for us to do reading. Now there are several Fibonacci levels here. Which level should we use? So it depends on who is having the strength. Just now we look at the buyer. It took about 15 bars or 100 over days to move up, but the sellers were quite quick. They took about 13 bars or 90 over days to pull it down. So the sellers are quite strong in the sentiment. That's why they pull it down quite fast. So according to the theory, we should actually use level 0.618 in this case. If the buyer just now, if the seller took very long time, instead of 90 days, it took like, if they took like 150 days, very long, then the buying period, which is around 100 days, then we can go for level 1.618, which is much more higher. And that is not applicable in this discussion because we definitely confirm that this seller took a shorter period of time compared to the buyer just now. So according to theory, we have to use level 0.618. Now interestingly, if you look at level 6.8, let us draw a line. So that level 0.618 is roughly around at the price $3. Okay, and I'm going to extend it to the left hand side. You see, interesting thing, when I extend it to the left hand side, it falls at the what do we call this? This is the support which turned to be resistant. Do you agree with that? Okay, now let me try to draw. So if you look at this particular region, so when price was falling, it created a support there. Okay, and when the price moved down and moved up, that becomes a resistance. It's a support, and it is basically support resistance line, we call it. Okay, so now the level 0.618 exactly falls on that level, on that support and resistance line. Okay, but of course we saw a false kind of breakout here. So it managed to move above the resistance line, but that was only one candle. So it's not, usually we wait for 2 or 3 candles, then we make a decision whether it was a successful breakout. So this is actually a fake breakout, so that's why the price went down further. Okay, but the interesting thing is right now at 0.168, it is actually falling on the same support resistance line. So that somewhat consolidates our target of $3. Okay, so we are putting a target that this particular move, this particular kind of upward move, will try to hit that $3. And if you notice, if I zoom in here, see, it is kind of trying to make a uptrend move. So now if you observe the recent movements, here is the low. This is the absolute low that we have found. Then we price somewhat went high to here, very high. Oh, that's too high actually. And then the price made a low here, but this low is somewhat higher than previous low. So we are just waiting for another signal. If the price managed to go up beyond the previous high, which is more than $4, then we can confirm it's going to be upward move. But that is a bit ridiculous because we are only targeting like $3 at the near future. So and now we cannot confirm yet this is uptrend, but somewhat is moving toward uptrend. Okay, because we only reached half of the requirement of Dow theory, that the low must make a higher low and the high must make a higher high. So we only reached half of that Dow theory on the uptrend definition. Okay. So that's how I come out to that. Right now the analysis is showing that the next target is $3. Okay, now I hope you understood this part. In the next part, I'm going to discuss about the rounding bottom. Is the rounding bottom is somewhat a real rounding bottom or what? And before I start to discuss about when to enter, so stay tuned. Don't move away yet. Please subscribe to the channel and click your like if you have gained some information up to now. Okay, now we are in the second part. We're going to discuss about the rounding bottom. So if you look at your naked eye, may suggest that this is actually making a kind of bottom, rounding bottom, and it's trying to move upward, right? But we can always argue that it is not really making upward move, but it is actually trying to make sideways move. We can argue by drawing this kind of line pattern. But this, if you draw this line pattern, right, and if you try to argue that okay, this is going to be a sideways, could be, so we cannot show 100%. But one thing is the resistance line, which is the top line here, is kind of solid because we have 2 points. This is the first point here, and this is the second point. So that kind of creates a resistance line. We need minimum 2 points to create that line. But for the support here, it is not yet really a support because we only have one point at the bottom here. We don't have another point at the bottom here to suggest that it's actually kind of making sideways move. But we are not sure how this particular current move, which is actually on a downward pattern, but it made a slight move upward, but now it's making down again. We are not sure that this particular down move is going to continue down and touch that particular bottom line. So that's what we are not sure yet. Okay, so that's why we cannot confirm at this junction whether this is a sideways move. But according to a naked eye, we can always say that this is a kind of making a sideways. Okay, another interesting thing about this particular rounding bottom is you look at the volume here. The volume is doing fantastic because initially when it was price was moving down, the volume is not that high. If I need to really zoom in to see the volumes. So the volumes are there, but it's very, very small. Okay, very, very small initially. I mean, when it was on a down move, very small. But suddenly, when the price touched the bottom, okay, let me zoom out. Okay, when the price touched the bottom here, somewhere around this particular area, then you see the volume coming. And if I try to show you the moving average, so let me try to enable the moving average, volume moving average. You can see clearly the volume is on an upward move. Okay, so it's on an upward move. So that actually good news. That is somewhat suggesting that it is going to be a rounding bottom. Usually in a rounding bottom, we will see a high volume and the price is moving down. Yeah, it was kind of in high volume, just that comparative to the recent one, we saw that the recent one is even higher volume. Okay, somewhat it was in a volume to move down, and then when it reached the bottom here, the volume kind of disappeared, and then when the price start to move up from the bottom there, then we see the volumes coming in. So this somewhat suggests that it is actually a rounding bottom. Okay, but we cannot confirm yet. We need to study this particular current price move. If the current price move go below this particular level, let me draw it out here. So if this particular down move go beyond this particular support, I would say, then there's a likelihood it might touch this particular down line, and it might create a sideways pattern. Okay, but as of now, that's not happening yet. So we need to keep monitor. And for your information, rounding bottom is a very profitable pattern. It's a very profitable pattern. So it's just that when you enter, when is a safe period for us to enter this particular stock? So that's what I want to discuss in the next part. Okay. So if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe the channel. We're going to start talking about when to enter. Okay, so now I want to discuss about the when possibly you can enter. Okay, it depends on your risk aversion. So if you are very risk averse, okay, so if you don't want to take a lot of risk, then the best time for you to enter, or rather the safe time for you to enter, is once the 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 price here have breakout from this particular resistance level. Okay, at this point we are not sure if that will happen, but likelihood is there because it somewhat is like a rounding bottom. So then we expect the price somewhat later on will try to move toward this direction and try to break out. So if it breaks from um, this particular what you call resistance line, the blue line on the top line here, that's when you can enter. That is for those who really don't like risk. They want to be playing safe. But what about those who would like to take risks? Because when you take risk, higher risk, then the return is higher, right? So then the next thing is we want to see if you are kind of person who like to take risk, when is the right time to enter. Okay, for that I'm going to do a short-term analysis, because this short-term analysis will help you to understand when it is kind of safer by risk, but some kind of safer to enter. Still risk is there, but slightly safer. Okay, so now I'm going to change the chart to a day chart because we want to do a short-term analysis. So if you look at this short-term, the price is actually on a sideway. So let me draw this trend line. So this is top connecting the top, and then we want to have a bottom connecting bottom. Okay, so where is the bottom? So let me zoom out. Okay, so somewhat here is the bottom. Okay, so when you see this particular pattern is in contracting. It's a kind of contracting pattern. So a contracting pattern is basically a sideways pattern. So on a short term, it's actually a sideways pattern. Okay, so now when is the right time to enter? That's the question, right? On a short term. So we expect that the price is going to continue to move here down. It might touch this particular region, this particular line, and this is the point we need to watch. If you go beyond this, if it breaks out on the downside, then it's dangerous, and then it may not. We go back to the weekly chart. Okay, so if the price kind of move beyond this particular contracting triangle here, or contracting pattern, then the price may touch this particular down part of our sideways move. It may touch around here. So that's what we don't want. If it touches the sideways here, the down pattern here, then it's somewhat confirm it's going to be in a sideways move rather than rounding bottom. Okay, so that's what we need to be aware. So this line in a day chart, this line is very important line in a day chart. I'm going to highlight to you that this particular line is this particular region is very important. If you go beyond that, then it's going to be dangerous. But on the other side, if the price make a reversal and move upward and break out this particular line on the upper side, then it's actually a good news. So we may be on track to create that what you call a rounding bottom. So in terms of entry, right, I would suggest that you don't enter. Wait for the price to make a breakout on the upper side. Okay, wait for the price to break out on the upper side here in this region. So this is the region for us to watch. Okay, so once the price make a breakout on the upper side, we can actually start to buy if you are having high risk. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, if you are a very low risk player, then Let me try to bring it up, that chart again. Okay, then the best time for you to enter is when the price has gone beyond this particular line. Okay, again I will do it a line for you. Our target is even higher, so that is much safer, because this particular line is actually the resistance line. So if it makes a breakout from this particular line, you have to still wait for 2-3 days. If you consecutively make a higher high for consecutive days, then the breakout is kind of confirmed, then you can start to trade. That is if for those of you kind of not like to take risks, you want to be playing safe, then you have to wait longer. You need to wait almost a price reach $2.20. Okay, but if you are kind of risky player, then you just have to wait for this short term. When it breaks out from this particular blue line on the upper side, this particular blue line on the contracting pattern, then you can start to enter. But that has got a risk. But your risk may actually pay you out well if it is a breakout later on. Okay, so it all depends on your risk appetite. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed this particular review session, and I hope you continue to support me by liking, sharing, and subscribing my channel. I'll try to put up more interesting video and interesting analysis. I will see you in the next video. See you. Bye bye.